Hello there, it's midday. Welcome to Citi Prime News on 97.3 FM. The bulletin is coming to you live from our studios here at number 11, Dr. Martin Loop in Adabraka, Accra. Also live across the country on our partner stations around the world on citynewsroom.com, Citi 97.3 FM on Facebook, and CityTube on YouTube. I am Ni Latte here with
In
the next 1 hour, former President John Dramani Mahama officially declares intention to contest the 2024 general elections as he picks nomination forms for a third time in a row on the ticket of the position NDC with full endorsement from party bigwigs and MPs. Still in relation to that, leadership of Abosukai spare party dealers distances itself from a petition purportedly urging John Dramani Mahama to run for president. More from the group, which insists it is apolitical and those who met with the former president are not members. Ahead on Citi Prime News, justice must be served, police investigations must be sped up, and those responsible for the heinous crime must be apprehended. The demands of the family of the man stoned to death in Dentrafobinsu in the central region on suspicion of robbery at a Galamsey site. Much later in the bulletin, more Black Stars players and other sympathizers continue to call on family of the late Christian Achu to extend their condolences days after his passing. Today, ex-Black Stars captain Stephen Appiah leads a delegation to the family house. These and more here on Citi Prime News. If you are listening to us in the Western region, this is Premier 100.5 FM in Takoradi and Beach, 105.5 FM also in Takoradi. In the Bono region, this is Greener 95.9 in Sunyani, Orange 107.9 in Kumasi in the Ashanti region, Volta region. This is Global 105.1 FM in Ho and Adan, 107.7 FM in Adaklowaya. In the Northern region, welcome to Diamond 93.7 FM in Tamale, Westlink 88.1 FM in Laura in the Upper West region, Source 100.1 FM in Boku in the Upper East region, and Scarp 101.3 FM in Nankanduri in the Northeast region. Do stay tuned in for details.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connect you to the newsmakers.
Thanks, you made the right choice. This afternoon, let's begin with some politics because former President John Dramani Mahama has officially declared his intention to contest the 2024 elections. Today, he has picked nomination forms for the third time on the ticket of the NDC. Our man at the party headquarters is Kweku Eduama Ansan. He joins us on the line. Well, Kweku, yesterday, former President John Dramani Mahama met with the Parliamentary Minority Caucus where he made a formal announcement. Today, as we learn, former campaign manager Joshua Alabi has picked nomination forms on his behalf. Tell us more.
Yes, exactly. So it is stemming from yesterday's declaration or announcement that was done by the former president. Clearly, a lot of people had actually mentioned that he was going to go for this particular position again because he had already shown interest over the period. And so that is what happened early this morning. Even before his representatives got to the party office, there were a lot of people who had come there in party colors, a lot of them who were chanting his name, and also some of them singing aloud and all that. And for them, they believe that looking at the current economic situation, they believe that there should be a change. And you know that a lot of stakeholders have actually come out to throw their weight behind the former president. We know of the Motorcycle or Motor Riders Association who came out not too long ago, I think last week there, and made their call on the former president. And so this was in line with what we had been hearing over the period. And so it happened. Professor Joshua Alabi actually led the team, and we saw a lot of representatives from the various regions. And so for the chairman who had come in from all the way from Savannah, Oti, the northern region and other parts, they all made their way here just to throw their weight behind Professor Joshua Alabi as he picked the nomination form on behalf of the former president. One thing that Mr. Alabi made mention of is that, well, we know that John Dramani Mahama had made his intentions already, but it is very important that they get someone who has been tried and tested to come and then lead Ghana to the promised land, as he made mention of. And so for them, it was great to see him come back and to listen to the people who they say that they need him the most to come and lead and get Ghana back on track. And so it was all joy for a lot of them who came here today. But he's not the only one who actually came to take his nomination for. But that is with Mr. Alabi and his team who came there, paid a check of 30,000 Ghana cedis. That is the nomination forms. And so they picked that, and then they said that they were going to fill the forms and hopefully, as is expected of them, return to the party office and then also make their intentions clear that, yes, they are in to win the 2024 elections for the NDC.
Right. You've mentioned that John Dramani Mahama is not the only one who has come to the party headquarters today to pick nomination forms. Who else have you cited at the party headquarters coming in for the nomination forms?
Well, so right after Mr. Alabi and his entourage left, one Ernest Kweku Kobia also came there. And he also came with his entourage, a lot of them wearing his T-shirts, printed T-shirts, they're singing and chanting. And for some of the individuals that we engaged who had come from his camp, they say that, well, the former president has come to do his bit. Already, we know him as a former president, so there was no need for him to come and lead the party again. Rather, they believe that a youth is important for them to get a youth to come and lead the party. And so this individual, we understand, is in his late 30s, and he has also made his intentions to lead. So he has also picked his nomination form. He says that he's going to fill it as is expected of him, and then hopefully they'll return it to the electoral committee of the NDC. Tomorrow, we know that other individuals who have made their intentions known would also come. One, Mr. Kojobonsu, is also expected to come tomorrow, and others also till Friday. That is when the picking of the nominations will be ending, and then they will now zoom into the filing of the nominations, which is going for 500,000 Ghana cedis. That is what they are supposed to pay. They want to vie for the presidential position of the NDC.
And I wonder if party national officers have been speaking on day one of the nomination process.
No, so we didn't have the executives around. I didn't see some of the executives. The very few people I saw were those on the Electoral Commission board or the committee board of the NDC. They had been speaking. They said that, well, it's been good so far. People, those who have come to pick their nominations, came in, did good bidding. They did not, insult other contenders. They did the right thing, and what they did was in line with the laws of their party. So there was a concern raised about the fact that some regional executives are throwing their weight behind the former president. Well, when we spoke to Mr. The chairman for the election committee of the party, he said that it is not in violation of the laws of the NDC because they came as individuals. They didn't come on the ticket of the party at the regional space. They came as individuals who believe in the ideologies of the former president. And so Mr. Kakra Asamoah made mention that they should not create any worry for the party members, and that they think that they had done what they thought was right in their own thinking to come individually just to throw their weight behind the former president.
Okay, we are grateful. That's Citi News' Kweku Eduama Ansa reporting live from the NDC headquarters here at Adabraka in Accra, where former President John Dramani Mahama has picked nomination forms to contest for the 2024 general elections.
The Abossey-Okai Spare Parts Dealers Association has distanced itself from reports of petitioning former President John Mahama to contest the 2024 general elections. On Monday, media reports suggested 4 unions, Motor Riders Union, True Drivers Union, Concerned Drivers Union, and Abosokai Spare Part Dealers Association petitioned the former president, urging him to contest in the 2024 general elections to address the country's current economic challenges. Reacting to the reports, co-chairman of the Abosokai Spare Parts Dealers Association, Clement Boateng, says the association does not dabble in politics, but rather engages all political parties during election season to come up with policies that will inure to their benefit.
So according to the report, that came out, it was associated to the Abosokai Spare Parts Dealers Association as having gone there with the group, to urge the former president to contest for the 2024 election. And as far as I'm concerned, as the co-chairman of the association, there was nothing like that. So maybe the people who went there, went there in their own personal capacity. We don't have any problem with that, but to connect it with the association is something that we don't like, because our association is a non-political association, and we go with every government of the state. That is why we have to debunk it and let the public know that it is not the Abosokai Spare Parts Dealers Association that went there with the group, to meet the former president.
Are you saying that these are not even members at all?
As far as I'm concerned, they are not members of the association. They don't belong to the association, neither are they executive members. So they might have gone there in their personal capacity. We don't have any problem with that. But if you want to connect with the association, that is where we have a problem. Because like I told you, the association is a non-political association. And we don't have any problem at all with each individual who wants to associate his or herself with any political party. But once you belong to the association and you are either a member or an executive, we don't want you to do something that will have any connotation with the association. And that is the more reason why we have come up.
Clement Boateng is co-chairman of the Abosokai Spare Parts Dealers Association.
Now, the Upper East Regional Secretariat of the National Democratic Congress is threatening a series of demonstrations to compel the government to complete the abandoned Bolgatanga-Bokupo-Makom Road as scheduled. Works on the road have stalled due to government indebtedness to the contractor, resulting in the contractor laying off workers and parking equipment from site. Speaking at a press conference in Bolgatanga, Regional Communication Officer Salifu Abdullah demanded that government settles the contractor or incur their wrath.
If the necessary payments are advanced to the contractors, work on the project will be completed as scheduled. Again, we wish to remind His Excellency President Akufo-Addo of his pledge to the chiefs and people of this region to complete the project as scheduled during his visit to the region last year. We know this government cannot be trusted in redeeming promises. However, we do not expect them to renege on this one.
That was the NDC Upper East Regional Communication Officer Salifu Abdullah.
The 5-member committee constituted to investigate the disturbances at the Krobia Asante Technical and Vocational School has submitted its report to the Ashanti Regional Minister Simon Osei-Mensah. The Krobia Asante Technical and Vocational School at Afijuasia Sokore in the Ashanti region was shut down temporarily after students went on a violent demonstration on Sunday, January 22, over failure of their predecessors in the West African Secondary School Certificate examination. The students destroyed property and food items. The school was subsequently shut down upon the advice of the Setri East District Security Council and the Ashanti Region Security Council. The Ashanti Regional Minister Simon Osei-Mensah spoke after receiving the report from the Justice Samuel Obeng-Diawo Committee.
We have of the Minister of Education, the Chairman of the TVET Council, and the Regional Coordinating Council. We are very grateful. First of all, for accepting to work on the committee, and secondly, for working within the shortest possible time. Even though we gave students, we were very much aware that it was going to be difficult to complete the work within the 2-week period that was. That is why we gave the caveat that in case you are able to do, you can do the extension. And I, for instance, was sure you won't be able to finish within 2 weeks because some of the people you may need or you needed to contact were outside our jurisdiction or were outside the remit of the regular coordinating council. And since they will preach on their own, maybe the time that you give them to even submit certain report might not happen, might delay, and this will delay your work. But within all these challenges, we'll be able to do excellent, but even though I'm not going to it, and I know you all, and I know your capacities, and I know you deliver in fairness and with utmost professionalism.
You heard the Ashanti Regional Minister Simon Osei-Mensah.
You are listening to the Citi Prime News on 97.3 Citi FM live from our studios here at number 11, Dr. Martin Loop in Adabraka in Accra. Also live across the country on our partner stations around the world on citinewsroom.com. My name is Ni Lati here with Eno Safo. Our top stories this hour, it's now official. Former President John Dramani Mahama declares intention to contest the 2024 general elections as he picks nomination forms for a third time in a row on the ticket of the opposition NDC, with full support from some party bigwigs and members of parliament. Meanwhile, leadership of the Aboso-Okai spare party dealers have distanced themselves from a petition purportedly urging John Dramani Mahama to run for president. We've heard from the group which is insisting that it is apolitical and that those who met with the former president are not members of the association. Let's bring you some more stories now. And President Akufo-Addo has commended the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Ekufu-Dampare, for introducing modern policing in the country. Nana Akufo-Addo says public confidence in the service has been restored following his appointment. Speaking during the presentation of some vehicles to the Ghana Police Service, President Akufo-Addo said the police service has his support to enforce the law.
The Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Ekufu-Dampare, in particular, I want to assure your government's unflinching support for the measures you're putting in place to help build the police service Ghanaians want. We can all testify that under your leadership, our police service is undergoing a great improvement and a change of image before our very eyes. Gradually, the police have brought order to the roads, and we all now know that the law is no respecter of persons or vehicle types. We want this to continue, and you should always remember that you have the support of the President of the Republic in the conduct of your important duties.
That's President Akufo-Addo. We are still live here on the Citi Prime News, coming to you live from our studios at number 11, Dr. Martin Loop in Adabraka in Accra. Still to come, justice must be served, police investigations must be sped up, and those responsible for the heinous crime must be apprehended. If you do stay with us, we hear from the family of the man stoned to death in Dentrafobin, so in the central region, on suspicion of robbery at a Galamsey site.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday updates you on all the running stories and connects you to the newsmakers.
Ajwapa, what's all this condom business? Oh, I've told her over and over again that she won't get pregnant, and she's still insisting. Oh, isn't she the same person who said we would not have sex till we go out for at least 2 years? For all this time? Oh, and she still can't trust me enough? Ama, when I try to do something small, no, condom this, condom that. So handsome man like me, she probably thinks I have HIV.
Using a condom will protect you and your partner. Condoms are effective for protection against a wide spectrum of STIs and HIV infection. Don't take risks. Use a condom every time. Always come prepared.
This advert is brought to you by the Ghana AIDS Commission.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday updates you on all the running stories and connects you to the newsmakers.
You're welcome back to the Citi Prime News on 97.3 Citi FM live from our studios here at number 11, Dr. Martin Loop in Adabraka in Accra, also live across the country on our partner stations around the world on citynewsroom.com, City 97.3 FM on Facebook, and CityTube on YouTube. My name is Ni Lati here with Enu Safo. Our top stories this hour. Former President John Dramani Mahama has picked his nomination forms to contest for president on the ticket of the opposition National Democratic Congress. I want to take you now to the Central Region because family of 22-year-old Evans Reku, who was stoned to death over robbery at Dentra Fobenso in the Upper Dentra West District of the Central Region, wants the police to speed up action to arrest his killers. Well, he was stoned to death over his alleged involvement in a robbery incident at Igalamsey site in the Central Region. Calvis Tete is our Central Regional correspondent. He joins us on the line. Well, Calvis, between when the incident happened and now, what's the latest you have gathered?
Well, Philip, this morning I spoke to the father of the boy, Peter Reku, and he's of the view that the police is delaying in arresting the perpetrators of his son's of the perpetrators who killed his son. He believes both communities are sitting on a time bomb. Tensions are high in the two communities, the Ayamfuri community and then the Fobensu community. He believes that the people of Ayamfuri wanted to attack the Fobensu community, who is alleged that they stoned the boy to death. The father of the innocent boy believes that if the police is able to arrest the perpetrators of the crime on time, this will help save the reprisal attack the people of Ayamfuri wants to put on the people of Fobensu. Philip, one thing I also got to know is that, in both communities...
This is Nilati, not Philip.
Sorry. Communities, Fobensu and Ayamfuri, just a stone throw to the neighboring community. And so a reprisal attack would mean that there will be a lot of bloodshed because it's easy for one individual to just commit to the other community. And so they want the police to, as a matter of urgency, try and then arrest the perpetrators of the crime. I spoke to the father of the boy, and then he was telling me that as at late yesterday, he went to the police station and then he saw the chief who ordered that the boy be stoned just coming out of the police station, which is an indication that the police have invited him. He is hoping that the police will further delve into the issues and then arrest those individuals who stoned the boy to death.
We'll be hearing from the father of the deceased very soon, but it's also good that he is calling on the police to expedite their investigations. But as far as this issue is concerned, what has the police been able to gather in terms of their investigations so far, if you are able to share that with us?
Well, I tried reaching the police early this morning to find out what the latest was with regard to the issue. But then the police are saying their regulations now, they are not allowed to talk. So I spoke to the father, and then he tells me, he spoke to the police commander earlier this morning to find out the latest. But the police is saying they have begun the investigations. I believe that is why they invited the chief of that Fobensu community, who is alleged to have ordered that the boy be stoned to the police station to answer questions. The father, Peter Reku, is hoping that the police will go down to the wire and arrest the perpetrators for fear of a reprisal attack.
I went to see the police commander yesterday, and I saw the chief who ordered for my son to be stoned, but I'm only hoping that they will interrogate him. My worry is that if authorities don't arrest anyone, it will spark a reprisal attack. I want authorities to give us justice in this matter.
That was the father of a 22-year-old man, Evans Reku, who was stoned to death over a robbery incident at Dentra Fobenso in the Upper Dentra West District of the Central Region. Correspondent Calvis Tete is still on the line. Well, Calvis, has there been any response from the traditional authorities in the area?
Well, the father is actually disappointed that, for such a community, traditional authorities do matter a lot. And that since the issue happens, the traditional authorities have not called both communities to sit down over the issue. He's hoping that, that will happen. But for now, he's disappointed that the traditional authorities have not done enough to settle this issue, especially the reprisal attack.
Yesterday, you reported that there was tension between the two communities. Today, as we speak, has the calm returned to these two communities?
Well, according to my source in the community, you realize that on the faces of persons within this community, you could see hatred, and that they are hoping, the people of Ayampuri are actually hoping to just revenge the death, as in code, that is what they are saying. They want to revenge the death of Evans Reku, because they believe that 22-year-old boy is innocent of the crime. According to them, he just completed at the Southern College in 2021, and that he went to the Galamsey site to actually work to make some money so he could go back to school. But unfortunately, the incident happened and he has been killed. The community people in Ayampuri believe that he's innocent. He's not an armed robber. And some of the individuals also say that, the people of Fobensu know him, so they don't know why people will tag him with that, give him that tag, and then stone him in the process. So you could see on the faces of people in Ayampuri that they are not happy. And interestingly, the communities are just interconnected. So people from Fobensu pass through Ayampuri to the next community. So it is actually dangerous.
That's Central Regional Correspondent Calvis Tete updating us on that particular story.
Political science lecturer at the University of Ghana, Dr. Abdul Jalilu Ateku, has praised the new crop of minority leadership in Parliament for the manner in which they have discharged their duties during their first week in office. The National Democratic Congress appointed Member of Parliament for Ajumako Enyane CM, Dr. Kaisala Toforson, as new minority leader in an unexpected reshuffle, which included Emmanuel Amakofibua and Govins Agbuja as deputy minority leader and chief whip, respectively. The removal of the Haruna Idrisu-led leadership placed enormous responsibility on the shoulders of the new leadership, and after a few weeks in office, Dr. Abdul Jalilu says they have so far done well.
They have discharged their duty very well. They have not underperformed. They have still maintained what the Haruna Idrisu-led minority leader did. So if you look at it broadly, because you look at the questioning, the line of questioning, I could see some kind of seriousness in them, right? Because if you look at one of the nominees who appeared before them, Honorable K.T. Hammond, we know he has some sense of humor and all that, and he brought that to bear. But at a certain point in time, I saw that, saw the seriousness, indicating to him that, look, we are colleagues. There are certain things we can do that behind the scenes, but here we are for serious business. So you answer the question. So if you look at it, I think the critical questions came from the minority, right, trying to probe into some of the issues, whether some adverse findings have made against them, and whether those findings are still there, or maybe they have set aside using the court processes and all that, right? So I think that the key question came from them. Right? The one thing I will say is that if you look at the demeanor, right, unlike maybe the Haruna Idrisu-led minority, maybe when they are there, right, maybe they are relaxed because they have been there for a very long time. And it is expected that once they are also in that position for some time, certainly you see them in a very relaxed manner.
Dr. Abdul Jalilu Atiku is a political science lecturer at the University of Ghana.
Away from that, and the Food and Drugs Authority, FDA, has cautioned the general public against patronizing a counterfeit anti-malaria drug, Combiat tablets, on the market. The authority warns that a counterfeit drug doesn't contain any of the two active pharmaceutical ingredients it claims to have. Speaking to Citi News, the Director of Enforcement at the FDA, Virgil Pra-Ishen, says investigation has begun to apprehend the manufacturers of the drug.
As part of our mandate, we have to conduct a market surveillance to make sure that products registered by or regulated by the FDA always meet specification. In doing that, our team in the Northern region chanced upon this anti-malaria drug, Combiat, and it was tested on the field. It gave us a negative result. So we decided to bring it to the main lab at the head office for confirmatory test. After going through that, the results still came out negative. We just got a correspondence from the manufacturer and they issued a disclaimer. I think they even got in of it somewhere latter part of last year. So it's confirmed that it's not coming from their facility. Investigations still ongoing. We've shared information with all WHO member states, and we're hoping that we'll pick up intelligence on wherever it's being manufactured for us to arrest those behind it. We should always buy from licensed pharmacy shops and chemical shops, and also to the chemical shops and pharmacy owners, they should buy from licensed importers and distributors.
Virgil Pra Annan is the Director of Enforcement at the Food and Drugs Authority.
The Greater Accra Regional Coordinating Council says it will, from the 2nd to the 4th of March 2023, embark on its Operation Clean Your Frontage initiative in the Tema metropolis as it hosts the 6th March regional celebration. The council says the initiative, which is in preparation towards the celebration, will see to the closure of shops to get everyone involved in cleaning their frontages. Speaking during a stakeholder meeting with all metropolitan, municipal and district chief executives in the region, the regional minister Henry Quartey quoted the support of all stakeholders to ensure its success. He charged assemblies to issue summons to all those found culpable.
So, Mayor and your message, we would want to fully operationalize Operation Clean Your Frontage in Tema. I have seen quite a number of posts on my Facebook page where the people of Tema continuously say that they have been left out. So the message is that we are here in Tema, and Operation Clean Your Frontage is coming to Tema from the 2nd, 3rd and 4th of March, and it's going to be massive. We will appeal to the traditional council to assist us in appealing to residents, businesses, churches, name them, to join in the exercise. We will not come and clean people's frontages for them. No. The bylaw is clear. They are supposed to clean their immediate environment, their frontage, and to the middle of the street. So all will observe same.
You heard the regional minister, Henry Quartey.
This is still the Citi Prime News on 97.3 Citi FM, live from our studios at number 11, Dr. Martin Loop in Adabraka here in Accra. The bulletin is live across the country in the Western region on Premier 100.5 FM and Beach 105.5 FM, both in Takra, the Green FM 95.9 in Sunyani in the Bono region. Ashanti region, you are listening to us on Orange 107.9 FM in Kumasi, Global 105.1 FM in Ho, Adan 107.7 FM in Adaklawaya in the Volta region. If you are listening to us in the Northern region, this is Diamond 93.7 FM in Tamale, Westlink 88.1 FM in Laura, Source 100.1 FM in Boku and Northeast region. This is CAP 101.3 FM in Nampanduri. Well, the bulletin is also live across the globe on citynewsroom.com, Citi 97.3 FM on Facebook, and it's also streaming on CityTube on YouTube. Our top stories this afternoon. It's official now. Former President John Dramani Mahama has picked nomination forms to contest for presidency for a third time in a row on the ticket of the opposition NDC, with full endorsement from some party bigwigs and MPs. Meanwhile, Abosokan's spare parts dealers have distanced themselves from a petition purportedly urging John Dramani Mahama to run for presidency. We've also taken you to the central region, where family of the man stoned to death in Dentrafobin on suspicion of robbery at a Galamsey site is demanding justice. Let's bring you more stories. And former Black Stars captain Stephen Appiah is leading a host of his national team players to commensurate with family of the late Christian Achu. Well, Ghanaian players Rabiu Mohammed, Jerry Akamenko, and Kojo Asamoah, Derek Boateng, and actress Lydia Forsina are all in attendance. Uncle of Stephen Appiah, Ni Kojo Appiah, father of the Jamestown stool, and his wife Hannah Bentel are also at the family house. Let's take you live to the place now, because Evans Ofuchu Manso with the City Sports Desk is there and he joins us on the line. Well, Evans, It's still a solemn moment for the Trasam family at their residence as sympathizers continue to gather to condole with them.
Absolutely, Ni. So it's day 3 since the book of condolence was opened here at the family house of Christian Achu behind the St. Peter's Mission School at Obojo. We had some personalities coming through on Monday. Abedi Ayupele did that. We are also on Tuesday. We saw his former Black Star players, the likes of Asamoah Jan, Bafo Jan, Mutuali Muntari, all coming through yesterday alongside officials of the Ghana Football Association and also the sports ministry to deliberate on his funeral rites. Today, it started with the former Black Stars coach, C.K. Akono. He was the first key personality to commiserate with the late Achu family here, and he arrived to greet the elders of his family and also try to share some few words with them. After he left, then the leadership of the New Patriotic Party followed suit with the General Secretary Justin Kodia alongside the Nana B and the head of the Nasara coordination, that's Aziz Aruna Futa, all coming here to commiserate with the family. And the New Patriotic Party, we understand, gave 10,000 Ghana cedis to the family as support for the upcoming funeral rites and so on. So the event continues with the arrival of more Black Stars players today, headed by their former captain, Stephen Appiah. So he led a host of some key players to the house of Christian Achu. So the players included Rabi Mohammed, Kwejo Samoa, and also Jerry Akamenko, Derek Boateng. They had amongst them the actress Lydia Forson also here, alongside the uncle of Stephen Appiah, me, Kwejo Appiah, all coming here to commiserate with the family of the late player. So they also signed the book of condolence, and then they spoke of how ready they are to support the family in whatever capacity that they can to make sure that the late player gets a befitting burial. We tried to get some reactions from Stephen Appiah, but he declined. But we were able to speak to Kwejo Samoa, and he spoke highly of Christian Achu, how the player was when they were together at the Black Stars camp. And at the end of the interview, he had to just break down in tears. He just couldn't hold himself anymore. He was carried by so much emotions. But everyone here spoke highly of the player, including his close friend Lydia Folson, who also spoke highly of Achu. The other players also gave a short remark of what Achu stands for. And one key word that was across was the fact that they loved how he treated humanity, or his love for humanity. And so they were inspired by the works of Christian Achu, and they believe that that's one of his biggest legacy here. So we are still here at the family house awaiting more key personalities. Some Ghanaians also at the family house to commiserate with the family. Yesterday we had a reaction with the family head, G.K. Trasam, who spoke about the fact that they are overwhelmed by the support that they have received from Ghanaians and across the globe, and that they are open to what the government will do for their beloved son. If it's a state's burial, then they are open to that possibility as well. At the moment, we are uncertain as to who is next in terms of the key personalities to visit the family, but we are still here monitoring every situation here.
All right, thank you. That's City News' Evans Ofosu-Manso reporting from the family house of the late Christian Achu as more sympathizers gathered to console the family a few days after his passing. We are still listening to the Citi Prime News live from our studios at number 11, Dr. Martin Loop in Adabraka here in Accra. Let's bring you more stories now, because the Ministry of Health is working with management of the Pantan Hospital in Accra to clear some 2.8 million cedis owed suppliers of the hospital. The management explains that the debt accrued is as a result of government's inability to release funds allocated for the operation of the hospital. This, the management says, has affected the running of the hospital. The managing director of the hospital, Dr. Frank Benin, tells Citi News the hospital received 700,000 Ghana cedis out of some 2.3 million allocated to the hospital.
You would realize that in this country, nobody gets his adequate budget. No institution gets its adequate budget. So you would send a budget with your real needs, and then you'll be given a ceiling. And then quite often, even the ceiling that is captured in the appropriation bill you probably end up getting lower amounts in terms of releases. So basically, that is how we owe people. And you realize that for last year, for example, in the appropriation bill, we were supposed to get something around 2.3 million Ghana cedis. By the end of the year, we had gotten just over 700,000. So when you see the gap in budget, that translates into what you've probably seen in terms of how much we are owing our suppliers. So that's how it works.
Dr. Frank Benin is the managing director for the Pantan Hospital here in Accra. Still ahead on Citi Prime News, Majority Leader Osei Mensah Bonsu pushes for a new constitutional order that will place a cap on the number of ministers appointed by the president. We get to hear from him as the House launches 30 years of parliamentary democracy.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connect you to the newsmakers.
More. It's something we're promised a lot these days. But what does more actually look like? Well, in Emirates Economy, it's endless entertainment on the biggest screens in the sky plus live sport. That's more. Gourmet cuisine that gives you a taste of your destination, served with free-flowing drinks. That's more. Special meals and toys for kids to keep your little explorers happy. That's more. So whichever way you look at it, more really does mean more in Emirates Economy. Fly Emirates. Fly better.
Is a country that's full of historical antecedents and rich cultural heritage. What is a rich cultural heritage without soul food? And what is soul food without a touch of ethnicity? And what is ethnicity if it's not from your village? This season of all things Ghanaian is upon us, and we are here to celebrate an aspect of our Ghanaianness with the Back to Your Village Food Bazaar, happening live from the 25th to the 26th of March 2023 at the forecourt of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. Come, let's treat ourselves to delectable, authentic Ghanaian cuisine from the northern, the middle, and the southern zones of the country that reflect our true cultural diversity. While at it, we'll be jamming to genuine Ghanaian music amidst games, competitions, storytelling, and so much more. Interested vendors of indigenous foods are invited to register. Don't let this be another missed opportunity. Call 0205 973 973 to book a stand and be part of the Back to Your Village Food Bazaar 2023. And the country make hot too. So come, let's enjoy some good food, resounding music, heartfelt camaraderie, and remind ourselves why Ghana is still our home at the Back to Your Village Food Bazaar on the 25th and the 26th of March 2023 at the forecourt of the AMA from 8 a.m. each day. The Back to Your Village Food Bazaar is powered by Citi TV with support from Citi FM and is sponsored by Volta Ghana Limited and Malta Guinness.
Vodafone Business introduces too much business packages for businesses and SMEs. Yes, it be too much value. It be too much flexibility. It be too much everything. So on Vodafone, too much business. And the best part is you can now take your business up another level. Wow. Choose the voice, data, and SMS package that suits your business size and ambitions with Vodafone Too Much Business. That means more data for your business with the ability to roll over unused data, more SMS, more minutes for Vodafone to Vodafone calls, and Vodafone to other networks, plus free calls amongst your employees, all in one mobile package. There is too much value you get on the best mobile plan in Ghana today. To sign up, SMS start to 050-777-9000 or email vodafonebusiness.gh@vodafone.com.
Vodafone, further together. Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connect you to the newsmakers.
Thanks for staying with us here on Citi Prime News. Indeed, updating you with all the running stories and connecting you to the newsmakers. Let's go to Parliament now, shall we? Because the Majority Leader there, Osei Mensah Bonsu, is calling for a new constitutional order that would place a cap on the number of ministers appointed by the President. This follows intensified calls by the minority in Parliament on President Akufo-Addo to downsize government in the wake of the economic challenges. Speaking at the launch of the 30 years of parliamentary democracy, Oseiche Mensah Bonsu outlined series of benefits to be achieved with the consideration of a constitutional reform.
We need a constitutional order that will mitigate the winner-takes-all and prevent the do-or-die combat associated with our elections. We need a new constitutional order that will prevent the constant increase in the number of seats in Parliament. We need a new constitutional order that will put a cap in the number of ministers of state. A new order that will ensure that the Speaker of Parliament is a serving member of Parliament and that the Parliament of Ghana does not remain as one of only 9 parliaments in the world whose speakers are not members of Parliament. We need a new constitutional order that will accord Parliament the financial independence that is required to enable Parliament to stand on its own feet. A new constitutional arrangement that would liberate Parliament to perform its legislative functions without impediments, intended or unintended. Mr. Speaker, we need a new constitutional order that will give birth to an economic paradigm which will engender wealth creation, entrepreneurial spirit, and talent development, as well as jobs for our people, especially the youth, with the active partnership of Parliament. A new constitutional order that would remodel the composition of the NDPC, the National Development Planning Commission, to purge it of the overly partisan coloration and populate it with neutral citizens who develop a real long-term national development plan around which the parties would extract their manifestos and therefore ensure that succeeding administrations continue the programs and projects started by their predecessors in order to prevent the wanton dissipation of the scanty resources of this country.
You heard Majority Leader in Parliament, Oseiche Mensah Bonsu. Meanwhile, the minority in Parliament is asking members to reflect on the tenets of the military takeovers that took place in the first 3 republics in the country, which included corruption and abuse. Dr. Cassel Atoforsen is the minority leader.
As we celebrate Ghana's 30 years of stable parliamentary democracy, it is important to reflect on some of the issues that has resulted in the death of the first 3 republics. First, it has been suggested by the people behind the 1966 overthrow of the Nkrumah government that Nkrumah's government was abusive and corrupt, and that he failed to adhere to democratic principles. I do not intend to refute or assent to these allegations. I only seek to remind myself and all other politicians that any party in power should endeavor not to engage in an act that will suggest that to our people that we are abusive, corrupt, and undemocratic. Mr. Speaker, permit me to briefly comment on the issues that suggested to have provoked the overthrow of Prime Minister Buzia's government, the Progress Party, in 1972. Buzia's government is said to have inherited $580 million in debt, representing 25% of our GDP in 1969. By 1971, the $580 million has increased by $72 million in accrued interest payment and $296 million in short-term commercial credit. This led to economic difficulties which compelled Prime Minister Buzia to recommend to IMF and for IMF to introduce austerity measures that led to freeze in wages, increase in taxes, currency devaluation, and rising import prices. This led to protests, particularly by trade union Congress. Mr. Speaker, the army moved to occupy the TUC headquarters and block the roads. Mr. Speaker, the rest is history.
Dr. Cassel Atoforsen is the minority leader in Parliament.
Away from Parliament, the Dean of the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Professor Vladimir Entridanso, is advocating for the rewriting of the entire constitution. Professor Entridanso holds the view that a new constitution will repair any defects that currently plagues the country's democratic dispensation and will afford the country reset its democratic objectives. He made this argument whilst delivering a lecture at at the seminar organized by the Institute of Economic Affairs under the theme Reviewing Ghana's 1992 Constitution Towards Constitutionalism, Reflections and Refractions, jeered at soliciting divergent views on the calls for or against the amendment of the Constitution.
It's one of the bases for which I think, and it's subject to your own opinion, I think all that we are doing are very good. But I don't believe in amendments of portions of the Constitution anymore. I believe the whole Constitution should be rewritten. It's not going to give us a fifth republic. No. You just have rewritten your Constitution, get it promulgated. And I'm advocating a rewriting of the Constitution by constitutional experts who will be put together and then it's subjected to constitutive assembly modulations, not consultative assembly, constitutive assembly, so that they will promulgate it, not the one we did, so that it becomes a better constitution.
That was the Dean of the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College, Professor Vladimir Nchidanso.
Moving on, and the International Labour Organization has indicated its commitment in ensuring decent jobs for all countries across the globe, including Ghana. The organization maintains that although several strides have been made in bridging the inequalities that exist on the labour front, stakeholders must not relent in their efforts. Speaking on the sidelines of the launch of the Productivity Ecosystems for Decent Work Ghana project, Director General of the International Labour Organization, Gilbert Humbo, called for deepened collaboration between the stakeholders to achieve the targets of the project.
We are working with several countries. Both, you mentioned some examples which are what we call the receiving country. But we also have to work with the sending countries and sometimes countries of transitions. So we're working in several of those countries to reform the laws and also to ensure that not only safety and security is provided for workers, but also the global treatment, including the salaries, the early payment, the benefits, and so forth, can be what we call decent work. I think over the years progress is being made, but at the same time I think there's a lot that still need to be done. And our government in the country of origin, the sending country, also need to see what you could do to regulate by negotiating bilateral agreement with countries of destination. It's really for us to increase the productivity. As well, we are targeting two sectors to start with, the shear nuts as well as the garment sector.
That was the Director General of the International Labour Organization, Gilbert Humbo.
The government says that its involvement in the downstream petroleum sector through the Gold for Oil policy will not destabilize the sector's deregulated market in the country. Deregulation is the removal of government's controls from an industry to allow for a free and efficient marketplace and to allow the forces of demand and supply dictate the prices of goods and services. However, speaking during a question and answer session at a presser on the country's petroleum downstream sector, Minister of Information Kojo Nkrumah stressed the need for the government's intervention under the current circumstances to ensure consumers have access to affordable fuel.
Deregulation policies generally are adopted when you want to open up the market for the forces to play on their own. But market forces sometimes fail. And when market forces fail, which is a normal phenomenon in economics, when market forces fail, governments have a responsibility to intervene. So in the UK, for example, they are doing what they call the energy price cap. Because, again, the forces, it's a deregulated market, the forces of demand and supply are playing, but because of an exogenous matter that has happened, prices have gone through the roof. Will the government sit back quietly and say, let people keep paying God knows how much for gas, especially when they were going towards winter? So what they decided to do was to introduce what they call the energy price cap, where your prices were not going to go beyond a certain amount. Now, it's very easy for somebody to say, okay, so why don't you do that here in Ghana? Find out what their fiscal position is, what their reserves are, how they can fund that cap that they sought to introduce. But government intervened there
And the principle, therefore, is that when you have a market failure, when you have challenges in the market because of an exogenous factor like this, governments have to find a way to intervene. In this instance, here in our republic, this is one of the ways that government is using as an intervention. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the deregulation policy is a bad policy.
Minister of Information Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah, meanwhile speaking at the same event, the Chief Executive Officer of the National Petroleum Authority, Dr. Mustafa Abdul Hamid, confirmed the arrival of a third consignment of fuel under the Gold for Oil policy. He, however, added that his outfit will ensure that beneficiary oil marketing companies retail products at prices commensurate with the policy.
We introduced this Gold for Oil thing, which we have been doing. So far, 3 cargoes of gold for oil petroleum consignments have arrived in the country. The first one was for 40,000 metric tons of, I'll use the ordinary language, of diesel. And then in the last week, we have had 35,000 metric tons of petrol. And then also another 40,000 metric tons of diesel that have come especially under the Gold for Oil program. Our goal is that ultimately the Gold for Oil program should account for 50% of petroleum product imports into our country. And then the rest of the 50% would be done through the normal channels by the BDCs and so on and so forth. But where NPA comes in as a regulator is that we are going to ensure that if you are supplied fuel or petroleum products under Gold for Oil, that it truly reflects the prices at the pump. Because ultimately, that is the aim of government in introducing this program, to ensure that fuel is affordable.
You heard the Chief Executive Officer of the National Petroleum Authority, Dr. Mustafa Abdul Hamid.
And now guess what? With less than 2 weeks to the much anticipated Citi FM and Citi TV Heritage Caravan, some sponsors say they are anxious to meet with the patrons and offer them the best of products from their organizations. Key among them is GOIL and the National Lottery Authority. There is more in the following report.
The Heritage Caravan 2023 is officially sold out.
The public relations manager of GOIL, Robert Tre, says Heritage Caravan, spearheaded by Citi TV and Citi FM, is a right medium for the company to showcase its numerous outlets across the country to its cherished customers. Speaking to Citi News, he noted that the over 150 patrons of the 2023 Heritage Caravan stand a great chance to see the specific locations of the over 400 GOIL stations in the 13 regions to be visited from March 4, 2023. The biggest oil company, GOIL, has partnered Citi TV alongside other corporate organizations to give patrons a memorable drive in 7 days.
GOIL is for the second consecutive year joining the Heritage Caravan. We are joining because we want to showcase to Ghanaians that GOIL is part of Ghana's rich cultural heritage. Ghana has over the years had things that we cherish. GOIL is uniquely positioned as the biggest oil marketing entity, an indigenous one as that. And we feel that as you go around the country touring and showcasing our history, our rich history, it is important that we also show the very beautiful stations that we have across the length and breadth of this country. GOIL is uniquely positioned as the indigenous oil market entity that has over 440 stations in every nook and cranny of this country.
On their part, the National Lotteries Authority, NLA, says its decision to partner the caravan is because the program falls in line with its Good Causes Foundation initiative as a corporate entity. The foundation stems from the NLA's corporate social responsibility, where proceeds made under the Caritas program are given back to society in diverse ways. Speaking ahead of the 7-day road trip to tourist sites in 13 regions of Ghana, the marketing manager of the NLA's Caritas program, Bernard Boama, says the NLA is also passionate about Ghana's arts and culture.
NLA, we have our Caritas Lottery platform where we regulate consumer promo activities for corporate Ghana. The proceeds that come to us are channeled to our NLA Good Causes Foundation, where we give back to society. So whatever payments that are made by corporate Ghana doesn't stay with us. There are 4 main thematic areas that the NLA Good Causes Foundation's revenue is used to better the lives of people. And one of them happens to be the arts and culture.
And that's it for today's edition of Citi Prime News, which has been live from our studios at number 11, Dr. Martin Loop in Adabraka in Accra. Visit citynewsroom.com. We have more stories there for you. My name is Ni Latte. I was here with
Eno Safo.
Many thanks indeed for your company. Michael Obodu is next with the afternoon's edition of the Citi Business News.